Good evening. Welcome to the February 26, 2020 meeting of the Delhi Township Board of Trustees. We will have the Pledge of Allegiance, and a very special honor to have President Lincoln in the house again. And he will lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance, which we appreciate that. Our moment of silence here as we continue on, and I know we talked about this at the last meeting, but even more so with the coronavirus and everything going on. There's a lot of people suffering, not just in our country, but around the world. And if I might say, this really is a time that we really hopefully can come together in good prayer, good thought, and that they get this resolved quickly. I know our president is meeting tonight and having a press conference on this very topic. That's how crucial this is. So we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Lenny. We appreciate that. And then we will have a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approve of the minutes, please.
Motion to approve the minutes from the Board of Trustees meeting held on February 12th, 2020, and dispense with the reading.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes, motion approved.
Motion to approve bills for payment.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes, motion approved.
Motion to approve the payment of overtime for pay periods ending February 11th, 2020.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes, motion approved. Report from the fiscal officer, please. Significant transactions.
As far as transactions since the last meeting, we did buy a power cut for the fire department. That was $44,000. On 220, our payroll was $288,000. And as far as deposits on 220, we received $57,000 from Hamilton County for the local government fund and a gasoline tax. And this week, we did submit our annual 2019 financial statements to the state auditor, so that we are good for the year, 2019. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Amending of the 2020 revenue and the expenses, therefore.
Resolution 2020-020, resolution budgeting revenues and amending appropriations for expenses, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Is there any discussion on this resolution?
I can briefly explain what this is if you'd like.
Thank you.
The recycling fund was short, so that's a fund that we transfer money into and we also get grant money for. With the carryover we projected, it was short somewhere in the amount of $8,000, so we're transferring in $8,000 to make sure we can pay the bills out of the recycling fund.
Very good. And that obviously the recycling is not a money-making event for the township, so we really do our best. And I know I don't know how many bins we've added through the years to try and fix that. I was over there last night. We were there for a meeting, and again, you drive by and they've just loaded up, and so we're doing everything we can, as well as having cameras there for people that are dumping things there that shouldn't be, and have actually cited people. So let it be heard in the land. We're doing all we can with that, and we'll keep the project going as long as we can. Yeah.
So while you're talking about the recycling containers, people need to be aware that Rumpke has made it clear they only come around and pick them up 3 times a week. We have asked for additional pickup days because we would like that, and they've made it clear they only do the 3 days that we're getting. So that's Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. We've also looked at it, and as you recall, I think it was 2018 that we instituted rules and did a real deep dive into looking at it. Adding containers we don't think solves our problem. There are other places, some of our neighbors that have quite a few containers, and the more containers you have, the less likely people are to put their stuff in them responsibly. So we could put 20 containers out there and they'd still fill up the same as they do now. So I think Mr. Ripperger, Mr. Torbeck, and the folks maintain those pretty well. There's just a few times in the year that they you can't put your stuff in them, but overall, they're on top of them, and we're doing everything we can to make them as available as we can. But you're right, it is something we pay for. We don't get grants to cover all of it. Some of it, not all of it.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Mr. Cameron, the $8,000 that we're transferring, will that cover the rest of the year? The budget year?
If nothing changes for what we have projected the activity,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mike.
No other discussion?
No.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2020-021, resolution authorizing the township administrator to spend greater than $10,000 on behalf of the township, declaring an emergency and dispensing with second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any other discussion on this resolution? I know, have discussed this a few times on the journey, so unless there's any questions, I don't trust. Trustee
No.
Sturts?
Thank
Very
you.
good.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes. Resolution passes. Trustee correspondence, Trustee Sturts.
I was contacted by a resident, and I don't know if you know much about safe havens, but they are places that you put in a public building that a mother who cannot raise a child, an infant, and wants to safely make sure that this child is taken care of and not dropping it on a doorstep somewhere, but will bring it to the safe haven. And it's hard to the concept, but it's a nicely sealed unit. They would open the door, stick the infant in. There's like an infant bed in there like you would see in a baby nursery in a hospital. They close the door, it locks, an alarm goes off. And whatever building that is, the alarm goes off. Let's say it goes to the Hamilton County 911, and then they alert us that there's a baby in that bin, and we rush over and get that baby. And then they follow the procedures that go with that of an abandoned baby, but abandoned in a good way. I mean, how hard is it for a mother to give up her child? But anyway, recently, it'd be the first one in Cincinnati that we're looking into doing this. We'd be the first one in Cincinnati. Recently, over the past 6-9 months, one was installed over in Indiana, kind of Lawrenceburg area there somewhere, right, Chief? Something around there. What was it? North Vernon. Thank you. Within 6 months, 2 babies were saved, and are now in adopted homes. So we'll be the first in the area. We'd be the first in Cincinnati, in Hamilton County, and we're looking into it. And the fire department is taking on the task of looking into it, looking where it would be installed, and all the building around it, and so on and so forth, the alarm installation, so on and so forth. So just to let you know, when we do hear from our residents, we do research something, and we may be able to have a happy ending on this one and maybe save a baby and 2 in the future. So just something we're looking into, and I applaud the fire department for proceeding further with it and seeking out all the information they can. So thank you, Chief.
Very good. Thank you. Trustee Seavey.
Yes, I want to thank the DCPA, our Delhi Citizens Police Association, for putting on a wonderful fundraiser last Saturday night, the Mardi Gras. We so appreciate the service provided by the DCPA for everything that they are able to do for the Delhi Police Department. So it's always a privilege to be able to contribute to their efforts as well. So thanks, DCPA. We all had a great time, and we'll look forward to doing it again next year. Thanks.
Absolutely. I would concur. It was a fun night, good night, and we put our dancing shoes away for our bowling shoes this Sunday for the firefighters. So it just keeps getting better and better. Thank you so much. Special presentation tonight, the Delhi Business Association, the 2019 Delhi Business Association Christmas Parade, and some of the winners that are here and those that will be announced. Our special guest is Russ Brosey. Russ and Vicki Brosey, and all the time and everything that you put into putting this together with the programs, you name it. If no one's ever said thank you, obviously thank you so much.
Thank you. We come from the Delhi Business Association. That's your local businesses in Delhi that help pay for the parade, put the parade on. And we had, I think, 8 to 10 judges this year. We had the judges pick for the best band, the best theme, the best costume, the best decorated call, the most unique, and the best Cub Scout entry. And so we have our winners here, I think. The best band this year was Oak Hills High School. Anybody? And the best theme was City Slickles? Slickles? Sin City Shakers. I'm sorry. And the best costume, guess who? Abe Lincoln and his cast. Thanks again. See you. Thanks.
Mr. Brozzi, was that the Historical Society?
Yeah, Delhi Historic Society. Sorry about that. And the best Boy Scout troop, I don't know if they're here from Silo's Church. I don't think they can. Nope, okay. And the best unique entry was the Grinch. And Paul. And you was one of the best ones ever.
Thank you, I appreciate
Thank
it. I believe the child mentioned a check.
The Grinch.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we had the best decorated call, Shan here? Cougar Law.
not here.
But he said he was coming. I guess he didn't show up. And I want to thank everybody for the parade. It's paid for by the Delhi businesses in your area, so shop the Delhi businesses. Also, the Delhi is putting the Easter egg hunt on April the 4th at 10 a.m. at the Delhi Lodge. And if you're there at 10:03, you missed it. So it takes 3 minutes to pick up the 5,000 eggs. So be there by 9:45. People come at 10:02 and it's all gone. So kids would like to pick up the eggs. Thanks again.
Very good. Thank you, Russ Brozzi. Very good. We have a public hearing tonight on the community development, and at this time, I'll ask Mr. Cameron to read the motions, please.
Certainly. Motion to approve the opening of the public hearing for amendments to the text of the zoning resolution per case ZC 2019-02.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Greg DeLong?
Yeah, this is a, thank you first off. This is a case ZC 2019-02. This is a here zoning map amendment request to rezone property at 1085 Ebenezer Road from the A2 residence to the 00 office plan district. The applicant originally applied for an office district, just an O district, way back in about October of last year. Went down in front of Regional Planning Commission. They did deny that request. They recommended that he come back with a planned 00 district instead, which would put more stipulations and regulations on the property in general. So he did apply for that and modified his application in December. As I mentioned, the 00 plan district does put restrictions on the property through what we call a development plan. That includes the building style, landscaping, parking locations, unit signage, everything. It's almost like a planned district in a way, or what most people call a planned unit development. So in the future, if the planned unit development or the development plan wants to be modified, it does have to go in front of the zoning commission for that modification. So what we have tonight would be adopted. If it wants to be modified in the future, it would have to go back through the public hearing process again for any modifications to it if they wanted to add a building, change the signage, things like that. So some existing office plan districts we have in the township right now are listed on the screen right now. You can see there's Dr. Schultz, Westside Pediatrics, First Financial over on Anderson Ferry, Christ Physicians and Schroyer Eye Center, which is just west of the old Delhi Oil, Dr. Savitsi, which is over on, and Mount St. Joe Health Center on Neeb Road, and Radel Funeral and Cremation Services on Neeb Road. Those are all currently planned office districts in the township. What you have on the screen right now is kind of an aerial, and you can see some of the existing zoning. That little black spot, which is underneath the orange, kind of on the left-hand side, I guess it's gray, under the double D on the screen, is actually the location of the property on Ebenezer Road. Thank you for zooming in on that. To the north of there, you have Western Hills Retirement Community. There is residential surrounding it. At the corner up there, you do have a commercial district up there, which has, you know, Chandlers and things like that. And there's also the apartment complex on the northwest corner of Cleves Warsaw and Ebenezer Road. This is the proposed development plan. As you can see, the applicant has requested that this building be used for offices only. And this kind of does a layout of the parcel, where you can see where the parking is going to be located, any driveways, and sidewalks on the parcel.
How many parking places?
Oh, you know, I didn't. You asked me too quick. It meets the code requirements. Let's just exceeds the code requirements.
There's 8 in the front, the rest are
There's
behind it.
Probably about 24, roughly.
So a total of that.
Yeah. It meets the current zoning requirements.
sure.
So, yeah, so we're good there. And Mr. Cameron's counting.
I think there's 26.
26, I was close with 24. So here is another just color rendering of the proposed development plan. And now what you see on the screen is the proposed building. There is an existing house on the property that would be demolished. This is the proposed building that would replace the home that is currently on the property. And there's some elevations. That elevation also includes the signage that's going to be on the front. And here's a proposed landscape plan showing where some landscaping is going to be installed. And down in the lower left-hand corner of the proposed development plan sketch here, you see the proposed freestanding sign that will sit out front. Now, this did go in front of the zoning commission, and they did recommend approval for the 00 planned office district, and they had a vote of 3-1. We only had 4 members present that night. So, do you have any questions for me? I know the applicant is here to do their presentation themselves. So,
Is our discussion now or later?
I was going to wait till after the presentation.
Yeah, I would like, yeah.
Yeah. You'll be available for questions then?
yep.
Before we dig any further, I just want to invite those at the award recipients and such, if you don't want to hang around for this, we don't take it personally. If you want to head out of there, Grinch and everybody, yeah, we'll just give you a couple seconds there, and then if you want to stay, then we'll call you up to the witness stand.
Those Oak Hill students have to go study.
Yeah.
Yes,
Congratulations.
great Oak Hill students, on Highlanders.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, yeah.
I don't know. It's part of their, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Luby.
Okay, so as Greg mentioned, I did resubmit my application for requesting 00 based upon the feedback I got from Hamilton County and the residents. This way, I didn't want to leave any doubt as far as what I was planning to do with that property. So as you can see, I'm looking to build an office building, and it will be approximately 4,000 to 6,000 square feet. As you can see, it has more of a residential appearance than a commercial appearance. And again, because of the 00, we had to submit some additional drawings regarding the parking, the landscaping, and the sign. And yes, I do have some parking in the front and parking in the rear. The parking in the front will be primarily for clients, and the employees will be parking in the rear. So, you know, most of the time, you won't see any cars in the front of that building.
Not a good sign.
They'll be coming and going. So this quarter-mile stretch is no stranger to business. The Par 3 operated for 60 years. The greenhouse has operated for 30 years. The Klug Bus Company operated for 60 years, plus somebody is currently operating there now. And of course, right down the street, you have the strip mall where I'm at. And right below that, you have Happy Paul's and Chandler's. And then right on the other side, you have Duber's Automotive. And of course, if you look at the map, you know, Western Hills Retirement, they go all the way up to Ebenezer as well. You know, who knows, they could develop that property and decide to put some nursing home facilities there as well. Yes, This would be spot zoning. Actually, in 1990, the Hamilton County Planning Regional Commission did a plan for Delhi Township. And in that plan, they recommended that the township adopt or encourage more office and light industrial space. Greg mentioned a couple of the spot zoning, the O that we have now, the O and the double O. There are approximately 9 locations that we have now. So there's precedence for the spot zoning. In the staff report from Hamilton County, they even mentioned that even though this is spot zoning, in all likelihood, it would not have a negative impact on the surrounding area as long as the building was residential in character, the property was well maintained, and there was buffering around the residential areas. These are 3 things that I've agreed to, from the start, that I agreed to do. Now, I also did talk to the neighbors surrounding the property, and these are people that are directly affected by my project. So these are people that are going to look out their window and see this building or walk out the front door, and they're going to see it every day. Once I explained to them what I wanted to do, I have had no opposition for the project. There were some concerns about noise. They do say, during the day they will hear the garages, the work down at Duber's Automotive. At night, during the weekends, you can hear the crowd from Lenny's, and then people can hear the dogs barking from Happy Paws. And I assured them that there will be no noise coming out of my, noise will not be an issue from my business. And it won't be any traffic issues as well. You could talk to the other business owners that are in the strip mall where I'm currently located, and they probably all agree that I probably generate the less traffic and need the least amount of parking of everyone there. Lastly, with me being an elected official and presenting this in front of the board, I wanted to make sure that everything was above board. And I did call the Hamilton County the Ohio Ethics Commission, and ran this by them and explained to them what I was trying to do. And they said there was no ethics violation as long as I went through the process just like anyone else would. So I'm entitled to go through that process just like any resident would. And Brian, I think you would concur with that as well. So with that, if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Mr. Luby, I just have one question. What do you think the estimated value of this structure is going to be?
I don't have any final numbers yet, but it will be a minimum of $800,000.
Okay.
Is the structure or the property?
The value of what your property will be after
The property will be at minimum $800,000.
Okay.
Trustee Sturts?
Okay, so is this when we ask the questions or later? I'm confused.
Well, you can seek any clarification
Okay.
from the applicant,
Yeah,
sure,
Okay,
but
good. That's what I
the
wanted.
dialogue comes later when you're,
Thank you.
that's
Between
what I
us.
would-
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So in reading and everything that we were given, that came out of this, okay? So we were given this, so we've studied it. The building footprint's basically the same as far as square footage, so you're not enlarging a building on there necessarily.
No.
Okay, and then it looks like a house.
Yes.
I mean, for those who have not seen, this looks like a house, except for the building in the front, or the sign in the front, and that's out by the street. And secondly, the driveways are the same as what's currently there, basically.
Pretty close.
Except there's 2 entrances, egress to the house, and you'll be cutting off the one on the left, kind of situation. And then you are required to do the landscaping and all that kind of stuff,
Yes.
okay? So, you've done your homework, it looks like, and you also got a letter of recommendation or approval from Dries.
They
Am I
did not.
correct?
They did not oppose.
That was in our packet.
Project.
Okay. Okay, I have no other questions. Just to make sure I was able to digest all of that, and then there's nothing in there that I misunderstood. Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you.
I just have a couple of quick questions, but I would like to reserve the rest of the discussion after we've kind of come together on this, and then we've also heard from Pat, who has signed in. Jim, do you have a plan as far as how many employees you hope to employ? Do you have a vision here, or?
Well, my business has grown over the last couple of years. I currently have 6 employees, and most of it's during tax season. Non-tax season, I have 4, usually 4 people working there. I am looking to grow. I would like to buy a practice in the future. So I could be up to 8 to 10 employees. So that was the whole purpose of the building, is I can't grow any further without having the additional space.
Okay, one other question, and not to put you on the spot, but I'm just curious. You know, you've mentioned that you met with Hamilton County, and it sounds like you've met with several of the residents. What was the basic idea? What do you think, if you were a resident, what do you think the concerns were that was going to happen here?
Well, I would think, my concerns would be noise and traffic. That would be my first two concerns. And like I said, with my business, we don't have concerts or nobody's working in cars on the back. We're not having any pets there. So noise, there won't be any noise from this.
It's not like an H&R Block where cars are coming at 8, 9 o'clock at night to rush the taxis in. Okay, but as far as the residents, when in the early on meetings, what was the thought? I mean, besides the noise and things?
I think, of course, when you get a letter stating that somebody wants a zoning change, yeah, there's concern. But, I was invited inside a couple of their houses and sat and talked with them. And after I explained what I wanted to do, they were okay with it.
I'm asking what was their concerns?
Noise, maybe a light from a sign, which, that will be minimal, if any.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Luby, you are a CPA office. I think we keep talking about your office, but we don't really tell what the business that's going in there, and it is a certified public accountant
Yes, it is.
firm, so.
Right. Okay. We do have Pat Becker, who has signed in. Mrs. Becker, if you please come on up and voice your thoughts. Now, the sheet that you signed in would be actually when it comes to public comments, but since this is directly involving the case that we're hearing now, we ask you to come on up if you could.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you for being here, and this, I believe, if I remember, this is your third visit here now to discuss, but we want you to, yeah, absolutely. Feel free to just vent and voice what's on your mind, and we'll go from there.
Well, it has to do with the spot zoning, and it has to do with the neighborhood, and it has to do with, I didn't learn about this zoning change because I was not notified, because I'm not within that short distance that will see the change that's going to be happening. And with spot zoning, on the whole left side of the street, there are opportunities for more spot zoning. So what you'll do is one side of the street is open for spot zoning. The other side has, how many houses? 30-some, 400 to 600,000. My corner across the street, when you drive down Rapid Run, it immediately hits you. Across the street directly from me, and I've been in my house over 56 years, you see landominiums, not condominiums. They've taken a small, very area and have lawns, beautiful, valued property, and it's not condos, not apartments, and you can see what a neighborhood can look like and what corners can be made to look like. And spot zoning, then, you can see the development of other corners. It's corner zoning. And when you see all the, and I gave the board, I gave the township members here, I gave you a copy of what the guy who has got the $400,000 to $600,000 in value in that neighborhood on the other side of the street. What this means is the neighborhood that's what the neighborhood has been set up for. And some people may, agree, just a little bit of, and to be honest with you, I like Mr. Luby. I like Pete. He's an honorable person, but I'm looking at the whole future of the neighborhood and what the opportunities are open for. And when I gave you the article, what someone is viewing for Western Hill, for Delhi, 400 to 600,000 is what they're looking for, and that's the corridors they are looking to buy and build. Rapid Run from where I am all the way down to Sailor Park is private homes. Beautiful. And then the left behind me, the road that goes down to Bender, you should see the property that's available for development. And then I look at a very clever development, and I happen to know them, and he's bought up the corners. Dave Ott. The man's great. He understands corners. And he took the one across from the country club, and he made sure he got the zoning for that neighborhood. So I'm just putting this to you to see that this is So we can, corridor planning, and you have plans in there. I could go and look at your plan. I've tried to honor it and go see all your, I think, what is it called? It's corridor planning, and it is your, the whole project for the whole township. And you know why? I would like to compete with Green Township. They have the corridors. And I think that's what we have to honor. And the people who were there for years before, let's protect these corners, if that's what I'm looking at. And I'm just planning the ideas so that it's not spot zoning. It is the corridor planning. And Green Township is good at this. So we have corridors. Cleves Warsaw may well be one of them. I'm not sure Rapid Run it's not open anymore because it's all private homes. Delhi Pike, Mount St. Joseph at the very end of Delhi Pike. So I'm just planting the seeds for you, and I'm trying to be very objective and very, and I didn't get interested in this to begin with. I only became interested is because guess what? Dave Mackey helps me with house repairs. And in a conversation, that's how I didn't go out seeking to come out and address this issue. And I didn't get the notice, and that's okay. I understand government. Believe you me, I've been involved. If you knew my history, you would understand how I became involved. It's with me. I was born with it. U.S. Steel, coal miner's daughter. U.S. Steel, what the heck? One of the largest corporations in the world. So thank you for hearing me. It is, watch our corridors, plan corridors, and being close to the river, that makes a difference. We are limited, but smart planning. Thank you.
Thank you. You just wait 1 second in case there's any Trustee Sturts comments,
No.
questions?
No, we've heard
Trustee Seavey?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Becker, I just want to say thank you. And as I'm listening to it, trying to be objective, as I'm hearing Mr. Luby and also listening to you, and I think there's a mutual respect there, which is a great place to start discussions when you have that mutual respect. But it's also kind of nice to hear that you both are in agreement that you want what's best for the town that you love, for Delhi.
Why wouldn't you?
Not just now in 2020, but beyond, yeah.
That's exactly right. Future planning, and when sometimes you never know who's going to present ideas that just spark, and with an idea, and what I saw, and I know the developers, and I know these other people, and I see how they understand zoning at corners, and they change, and they have the money to save the corners. I understand that. Save the corners. Because when you enter a corner, you're beginning to get another view. And that's what you're going to do. And spot zoning will not save corners.
Right.
And I happen to know there's the chemical things because my husband did engineering and understanding zoning that has damaged property, that has chemicals on it, and you have to have it tested. And he worked for that's how I happen to know about all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. If there's no other discussion on this, then we will have a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing for amendments to the zoning resolution.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes, motion approved. Public Works, please.
Motion to approve the opening of the public hearing for the 2019 road repair contract with regards to assessments of the costs of the sidewalks, including that portion of the driveway within the sidewalk easement and driveway aprons as part of the curb improvement against abutting property owners.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes, motion approved. Hi, Ron. Ron Rippiter's here, our Public Works Director. Continue.
Thank you, trustees. This public hearing is to notify the residents of the final assessment to the abutting properties for the sidewalk repairs completed in 2019. 79 letters have been mailed out to inform the residents of this public hearing and the final cost of the repairs. In the past few weeks, we have received roughly about 40% of the payments from the residents, and they also get another 60 days to send any payments in. Out of 79 residents, I'd say we probably talked to over 80. So I don't think we have anybody showing up tonight with any questions. We usually answer them through the phone, or we meet the residents at their house.
Very good. Thank you. No one here for public comments on this? We have a motion to close the public hearing on this amendment, please.
Motion to close the public hearing for amendments to the zoning resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes, motion is approved. Continuing with Public Works Resolution.
Resolution 2020-019, resolution restricting parking on unpaid portions of the rights-of-way within the township.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution? Yes. Tell them, if you would, what they,
Thank you. This is a continuance from the last meeting, same resolution. We've had a handful of complaints about vehicles parking parallel with the road in between the curb and the sidewalk. And this is kind of another tool in our arsenal to keep that under control and mandate that a little bit.
and it's a tough thing. You know, I live over on the eastern part of the township, and lots of families, lots and lots of kids, and there's nowhere to park. I feel for them, you know, so they're parking by the trees, on the grass, and everywhere else, and at the same time, the rules are what they are, and I don't think there's an easy answer to it. You know, there's just not enough, except Queen City Metro, we're going your way. Anyway, something else, but I do feel for the residents and families. There really isn't anywhere else to park, but again, we also...
I would add a little bit to that. This kind of crosses over several departments to help try and regulate. Zoning gets inundated, can get inundated with calls about parking on grass or an unpaved surface. So unfortunately, once somebody starts moving, or there's a notification procedure, so it can be a not so immediate ability to prohibit that. Somebody might be parking too close to a fire hydrant. The police can regulate that and do regulate that. We also have an issue where people would be dragging mud onto the street, creating a problem, and that's hard to chase after and deal with. And so the ability to put in regulations just to prohibit the parking in that right-of-way space is going to empower us to deal with it more right away instead of a lag time. And that's something, I don't know, Mr. Pacheco, was that a regulation that is newer or hadn't decided to take advantage of or didn't explore in the past?
So that was a new one for the township, but a number of other townships, I did a bunch of research looking, and a number of other townships prevent them, what they call in Northeast Ohio, where I grew up, in the Devil Strip. When I moved down here, I understand now it's a tree lawn, but that's the area that you're talking about, and that this kind of prohibition is not uncommon in more so in urban townships than rural townships. But yeah, we did a bunch of research on it to find that, you know, we would not be the only place to be doing that.
There was a resident up on Foley one time, a few years back now, but there was a problem. He was parking up in that front grass, and he had his work trucks and everything else. And so when they threw the flag, he says, okay, so he went ahead and gravelled it and kind of paved it so it was that way, which, as I understand, that would not be allowed, correct?
Correct. Our permit policy prevents you from putting gravel in there.
Right. And that area that you go from the sidewalk to the street, which is public right-of-way, which then allows our police to be involved if you call and say, hey, he's parked in the public right-of-way. But when it's from that sidewalk up to the property, that would be a township. But after this, will they be able to do anything more with that? Or is this simply you would serve them notice that it was noticed that you were parking up outside your front window?
Definitely on the township roads, we'll have more control.
Right.
As far as the county roads, probably to be determined a little bit. But our complaints aren't geared toward the county roads at this time.
Right.
Were you questioning parking on your grass?
Yes, as compared, we already know from the sidewalk to the street is public right-of-way, and we know that we can call the police and say, hey, this is here, can you do something? And they might knock on the door, or they can actually issue a citation. They have that. But there's been things in the past where they say, we can't do anything because they're parked right outside their front door up on the grass. That's a township. That's a county issue. I'm saying what we're about to pass, will that give us any more teeth is what I'm asking. Can we?
If they're on their front lawn, that's probably out of the right of way, so this wouldn't be an immediate ability to affect that. That would be a zoning violation.
So that's what we would
So
have.
then it's got
That
the
remains the
process.
same, and you would be served a notice saying, don't do that
Yeah.
again, and,
Yes.
okay.
Honestly, I'm glad to see that we're going to stop that because I have a problem with being able to see out of some streets because people have parked in the right of way. They stop the vision of being able to see oncoming vehicles. So I think, for safety reasons, this is a good thing. Besides just cleaning up the neighborhood, this is for your safety that you're able to ingress and egress without, taking your life in your hands.
Yeah. Trustee Sturts?
No, covered it all.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. We covered it all with the right-of-ways, with parking on the grass, parking in the public, whatever it is. And it's not to harass anyone. It's just, we're on a mission here, folks, and we want to keep Delhi relevant and clean and ready to roll here. We got lots of great things going on as this new year unfolds. So thank you so much. No other discussion.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2020-022, resolution ordering final assessment amounts against abutting property owners for the construction, repair, and maintenance of sidewalk and driveway apron improvements along various township streets. Order performed in connection with the Delhi Township Street Rehabilitation and Repair Project 2019-A, following notice and hearing establishing payment terms for the assessments in accordance with Revised Code 5543.10 and its policy and procedures, and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Is there any discussion on this resolution?
This is just in connection with the hearing we just had to finalize the 2019 construction season.
Thank you.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2020-023, resolution awarding contract to R.A. Miller Construction Company in the amount of $782,034.75 for the Delhi Township Street Rehabilitation and Repair Project 2020-A, rejecting bids, establishing Huntington Bank as escrow agent, declaring an emergency, and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Yes, this is something we're pretty excited about. We were able to work with the law director, Mr. Pacheco, to get our contract out earlier than we ever have. We actually went out to bid in 2019 and awarded this early. So we're first in line for the construction season in 2020, which I talked to the contractor this week, and he's excited to get working, and we're first on the list, and it should go fast. So.
Good
Great.
work.
Awesome.
Accept no excuses and take no prisoners.
Yeah. We don't want it done before next year. I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2020-024, resolution declaring an I.O. line sign machine no longer needed for public use and authorizing the sale to Ross Township, Ohio Board of Trustees, and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Is there any discussion on this resolution? Pretty self-explanatory.
Yes, it's just, we did put on GovTeals for a couple weeks. It ended up not selling, and Ross Township has a use for it, so.
Thank you.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2019-025, resolution authorizing execution and submission of the 2019 Township Highway System Mileage Certification, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution?
Thank you, trustees. This is something we just do every year that we're mandated by the state to do.
There you go.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, resolution passes. Fire Department, please. Chief Campbell.
Motion to accept the voluntary resignation of part-time firefighter EMT Eric L. Godby, effective March 6, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Motion approved. Thank you, Chief Campbell. Good talking with you as always. Things good, Chief, in the fire division? Good. Parks and Recreation. I have nothing on the agenda, but I appreciate Russ Brosey mentioning the Easter egg hunt coming up. Get that on your calendar early. About a month away, huh? About a month and a week. Very good. Police Department, anything good? Administration, nothing scheduled there. That takes us to Community Development.
Well, I do have one
He
thing.
did.
You do?
I do. Didn't want to let you get away that easy. I have a late addition that I'm going to request you do later in the meeting, add this resolution to pass. The State Attorney General's office has been working with pharmaceutical companies, and Mr. Pacheco had sent me something, and I saw something last week, so we reached out to the Ohio Township Association, and just for those who don't know, that's the group townships would belong to, and it would help them with state-level issues and other things that all are dealing with. So they reached back out late this afternoon and said, here's a sample of a resolution language you could utilize to show your support for what the Attorney General's doing and a memorandum of understanding they're pursuing. Now, what this ultimately can mean and what they expect it to mean is there's a settlement, and the different communities are entitled to some amount of that settlement. I won't say the number for fear of, then if we don't get that much, but it's in the hundreds of thousands that Delhi Township would get through this settlement. So I bring that up because I have a sample of the, not a sample, I have a resolution. It's fairly benign, but I'll send it to the OTA to show we support what the Attorney General's doing. So I would say, after you're done with other things, throw this on so the numbering is sequentially correct.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Hopefully your best guess is good.
Well, it's what number they threw at us.
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
you never
I'm
know.
sure it'll go down.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Okay.
a nice number.
Community Development, please. This is a resolution on a topic that we were just discussing earlier. I'm going to ask Mr. Cameron if you read the resolution 026, please.
Resolution 2020-026. Resolution approving or denying the recommendation of the Delhi Township Zoning Commission in case ZC 2019-02 concerning property located at 1085 Ebenezer Road, parcel number 540-012-1026-00, to amend the map of the Delhi Township zoning resolution from A2 Residence District to OO Planned Office District and dispensing with the second reading.
Thank you so much. Before we continue with this resolution, I would ask our fellow trustees, after hearing discussion with Mrs. Becker and Mr. Luby, do you have anything else you'd like to add? Trustee Sturts.
No, he clarified, that it's going to look like a residence. It's going to be quiet. It's not taking up much more of a footprint than's already there. The landscaping is going to be improved. The only difference being that there might be some signage out in the front part, but there is, the required, it looked like in our information we received, the required setback. So there's green between the street and the building itself and the parking lot. So, I don't have any other questions. I just
Okay.
don't see any hindrances on that.
Thank you so much. Trustee Seavey.
There was a couple of things I was looking for in Mr. Luby's review, and that was the immediate neighbors to this property are not opposed to it. And I think that's a very big piece of the decision. Also, as I understand with spot zoning, this is not going to go away for us because we are built out and we are private ownership in so many parcels across this township that if we're going to grow our base in small businesses or even medium-sized businesses, we're going to be faced with spot zoning again. It's not going to go away. So that's the way it's going to be. We've got private ownership, and to change it from residents, that's going to take spot zoning, so it's not going away. But what is encouraging is that this is a blend to the community. It blends with the buildings surrounding it, and it's growing a business that's in Delhi Township. So I think I had all my questions answered.
Okay, thank you. And just kind of bringing it all together before we go into the discussion on there to close that out, again, Mrs. Becker, thank you for doing due diligence and really kind of digging in and also enlightening us to other things also to consider, which, as we say, the best gift you have is that gift of your time, and we do appreciate you coming and voicing that. Also, thank you to Mr. Luby also for doing your due diligence, not putting us behind the eight ball, if you would, and making sure that every I was dotted and every T is crossed, that you met with the county and the residents and the attorneys, and we appreciate that very, very much. That being said, we will entertain the resolution then from there.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any further discussion on this resolution? Our administrator, please.
I think you need to pick whether you're going to approve or deny. You have that choice.
Okay, I thought was saying, okay, I introduce and move the adoption to approve this resolution.
Very good.
Thank you.
I second the adoption to approve this resolution. Does that help?
Very good.
Very good.
Approving the recommendation of the zoning commission, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this?
No.
I move to dispense with the second reading of the approval of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of the approval of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading of this approval of motion 026?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Aye, yes. Mr. Luby, will you please call the roll?
No, but I will.
Nope.
Nope, sorry about that. My administrator, back to you.
Okay. Ms. Sturts,
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey,
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes, resolution passes. Continuing with resolutions, please, 027.
Resolution 2020-027, resolution certifying violation abatement expenses at 4027 Delhi Pike to the county auditor for assessment, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on the resolution?
Is there a picture?
This is an assessment resolution. Fortunately, we don't have it on PowerPoint,
on there?
but you do have it in your packet. On the right-hand side of the back page of your resolution, there are photos of the after abatement. On the left-hand side is before. This was for large limbs on a property on Mount Averno. This will be a $500 assessment placed on their taxes.
I
The right
introduce,
photo?
No.
I didn't think so.
Trustee Sturts?
Didn't
I
look like
introduce
it.
and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the motion to
Oh, and we're down.
What are you
I move to
doing?
dispense with
Sorry,
the
I'm on
second
the wrong
reading.
one. I was looking at the wrong one myself. I
Okay,
screwed
where
up.
are
My
we?
bad.
Okay.
So those are the correct photos on the screen. So this is Delhi Pike. Yeah. This is going to be an $875 or $1,250 assessment on this property. When we saw the pictures originally, you saw the front of the home. When we got to the rear of the home, it was way worse, as you can see. There was mattresses stacked up. You can see it on the lower left-hand side. A lot of debris. So it was about a 5-hour process to get this property cleaned up. It is a vacant property, so
Right.
my apologies, but yes, so this will be a $1,250 assessment on this property that will be placed on the taxes.
Okay. I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2020-028, resolution certifying violation abatement expenses at 4872 Mount Vernon Road to the county auditor for assessment, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Discussion on this resolution.
Yeah, as you can see the before and after photos, this is the one with the large limbs that were on the property. This will be a $500 assessment placed on the property taxes.
I would have removed them for 400. You're
It was only
kidding me.
$125 for removal. It's just we have a $375 administrative fee to cover our
Ah,
cost.
there you go.
That's where they get. the
I'll say that because I
higher.
pass that house every day, and I've
Yeah.
seen those branches.
Well,
I'm
if you want to
thinking,
do it for free, it'd help us out.
no, I
because we
wouldn't,
have
but I
budget
appreciate the
for it,
offer.
so.
But seriously, who owns that house? It's like it would have been nothing. Just come
Exactly.
and move the branches.
Yeah.
But that's what we're here for.
We'll do it.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
Mr. Luby, please. All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby. Now please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes. Motion, or resolution passes. Continue.
Resolution 2020-029, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 984 Neeb Road, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion?
Yeah, this one at 984 Neeb Road, it does have large limbs on the property. There has been an effort in cleaning it up, as you can see in the lower photo. We decided to leave it on the agenda. It's up to you if you want to continue with it. We will post them again and give them another notice, so hopefully they'll have it resolved. But it was still it was in that condition this morning with the large branches and stuff, so we do request you to.
The residence is occupied, right? Is this a complaint that like a neighbor turned this in or something that we just happened to drive by?
It was filed on our action line.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, resolution passes.
Resolution 2020-030, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 5057 Francis Valley Court, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Discussion on the resolution.
Yeah, this was another complaint we received anonymously on our action line. As you can see, they removed a tree on their property and left large chunks of the trunk on the property. The complaint at the time it came in also had the trunk pieces were blocking the sidewalk. We're sitting on the sidewalk, so Public Works did work with us on getting those removed off of the sidewalk, but those items are still in the front yard as of today, so we do request you declare it a nuisance.
So this is just about the wood, not the fact that there's a boat parked in the
There is
driveway.
another issue, but that's not a nuisance violation. We're working with
Okay.
that right now.
All right. Thank you. I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes. Resolution passes. Continue, please.
Resolution 2020-031, resolution declaring nuisance for accumulated debris at 6830 Hillside Avenue, declaring an emergency and dispensing with the second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Any discussion on this resolution?
Yeah, this is actually down on Hillside. This home actually burned down in December. So we were working with the fire department. This was a complaint that came in on our action line. We are working with the property owner, just so you're aware. He is in the process of getting permits to get these items removed. We did notify or let him know we were going to keep this on our agenda so we can at least get the declaration put in place so we're not back later on with it. So we do request that you do keep it on or declare it a nuisance tonight, but we are going to work with this individual because it's going to be a pretty expensive endeavor to get this removed for our sake and would probably drain my account that I have for nuisance abatements. So, but we're going to work with them. But we just want to proceed with at least declaring it at this time.
So that is the fire debris?
That is fire debris.
Oh. Okay. Gotcha. I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes. Public comments, we have no others signed in. Anyone else wish to address the board that has not signed in, going once? Twice, three times, very good. Announcement of community events. Oh, sorry.
Is this when we do your
Do you want to add
resolution?
the resolution here?
Either after
After
the
executive?
announcements or now, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Very good. Community events.
The Bailey Lunch and Learn Series, Technology, Social Media, Q&A, will be Friday, February 28th from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. And that will be at the Bailey Fitness Center Club at 401 Farrell Court. Cakes, Corks, and Constellations will be Friday, March 6th at 7 p.m. And that'll be at the Delhi Park Lodge at 5125 Foley Road. The Delhi Historical Society program, Ohio's Role in Women's Suffrage, 3 Reasons to Celebrate the 2020 Women's Vote Centennial, will be Monday, March 9th from 7 to 8 p.m. That will be at the Delhi Park Lodge at 5125 Foley Road. Delhi Township Veterans Association General Meeting is Tuesday, March the 10th from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m., and that's at the Delhi Senior Community Center at 647 Neeb Road. Crazy for Crafts, St. Patrick Pot of Gold will be Friday, March 13th at 6 p.m., and that will be at the Delhi Park Lodge at 5125 Foley Road. The March 2020 presidential primary election will be Tuesday, March 17th. Polls will be open from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. That's all we have.
Thank you, Mr. Luby. We do have need for executive session tonight. We'll entertain a motion for that.
No.
We're going to do the
One
resolution.
more.
So we're doing this before executive.
Oops.
Just the top one. Yes, okay. All right.
Before we go to executive, we'll have this resolution, please.
Resolution 2020-032, resolution to accept the One Ohio Memorandum of Understanding, declaring emergency and dispensing with a second reading.
I introduce and move the adoption of this resolution.
I second the adoption of this resolution.
Is there any further discussion on this resolution?
No.
I move to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
I second the motion to dispense with the second reading of this resolution.
All those in favor of the motion to dispense with the second reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Luby, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes. Resolution passes. Motion to go to executive, please.
Motion to retire to executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, and/or compensation of public employees of the township, economic development matters, and also litigation.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Do we call the roll on that?
No.
Want to?
Do we call roll to go to executive? No. Go ahead, yeah. Yeah.
Mrs. Seavey?
Yes.
Mrs. Sturts?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
We just want to be legal. I like being legal.
I left you a message. Yes.